Hey everybody, it's GoblinX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing another Qualifier play-in event. This is going to be Alchemy Horizons Baldur's Gate Sealed, and it will be best of 3 matches. We get into the Qualifier Weekend event by getting a 4-win run before receiving a single match loss, so quite difficult to try to qualify in this best of 3 events, but I'm gonna give it my all and mainly just get to play some competitive sealed here today. The Qualifier Weekend event that you will qualify for in this event, if you manage to get your 4-win run, is another limited Baldur's Gate event. Saturday this weekend is day 1 of the Qualifier Weekend, which is Baldur's Gate Sealed. And if you manage to win your way through that, you'll get into day 2, which is Baldur's Gate Draft. And if you win your way through that, so you have to win a ton of games in a row with a very, very small amount of losses. But if you do, you get qualification for the Magic Arena Championship, one of the biggest tournaments on Arena with a ton of cash prizes. These are the events that you'll see live streamed on Magic's official Twitch channel, with commentary and all of that good stuff. So the really big event with really big prizes. So that is what the Qualifier Weekend events and Qualifier Play-in events are all about. Without further ado, let's just treat this like a casual sealed event. Just do our best here and see how we do, see what we open up. Alright, well, these are some really bad rares for sealed, in my opinion. Raga Draga is very specifically for a deck with a lot of creatures with mana abilities. Bell of Giant Strength is just too much mana to be a very efficient equipment at all. Sure, if you have a 5/5, you can spend 5 mana to equip it to give equip creature +5/+5, but you're never getting a particularly good deal. You always have to spend mana equal to however much +X/+X you're getting. So if you have a 1/1 that this would give +9/+9 to, you need to spend 9. If you have a 7/7 that's only going to get +3/+3, then you still have to spend 3 mana to get that +3/+3. Just a very inefficient equipment, pretty bad card. That being said, we have 2 really good rares, and they're going to push us heavily into one color, and that's Sune's Intervention, a big old 3-for-1 modal spell. That is, you're always getting 2/2/2s and drawing a card with that Seek ability, as well as gaining 3 life, so that is a 3-for-1 guaranteed. If your opponent is running artifacts and enchantments, maybe an enchantment-based removal spell or an artifact creature here or there, then you can get even more value out of this spell, and it is pretty absurd. So that is one of the best cards in our sealed pool, as well as Clement, Novice Acolyte, another great one. A 2-mana 2/2 that when it enters the battlefield gives every creature in your hand +1/+1, and has some very, very powerful cards to specialize into by spending that 2 mana and discarding a card of whatever color you want to specialize into. So Clement and Sune's Intervention are easily the best rares in this sealed pool. There's also 2 copies of Black Market Connections, which you can play in a very aggressive deck. Really, really difficult to make a deck that aggressive in sealed, so these cards are likely just too much life to really be playable in the sealed format. So I'm not looking at these particularly heavily, but I will keep them in mind. But yeah, the fact that you cannot choose not to lose life with this card makes it really bad in a long game, and sealed matches, sealed games in general, tend to be quite long, even in this aggressive format in comparison to draft. So I'm going to take a look at my multicolored cards and my colorless cards first to see if we have any gold uncommons leading us in any particular direction, and we don't really. We have a single copy of Kalain. With how powerful our white cards are, we're very unlikely to want to try to go red-black just to play a single copy of Kalain. And when we look at our colorless cards, we do have some good mana fixing if we want to splash in some colors. We have 2 copies of Prophetic Prism, drawing us a card when it hits the board and fixing us for a color. Lantern of Revealing can fix our mana, but we'd prefer to just play Prophetic Prisms. Navigation Orb as well, another slow mana fixer. And then Pilgrim's Eye is a pretty good mana fixture as well. Enters the battlefield and search your deck for any basic land. So if we play a 3-color deck, we could play double Prism and 1 Pilgrim's Eye probably. But our other colorless cards aren't that great, just a couple Spiked Pit Traps if we're really lacking on removal, and a Chartland Dragon if we just need some kind of endgame flyer, but none of those are that efficient or that powerful. So we'll move our way backwards, as I tend to do, just because I look at the multicolored and colorless first to see how each color looks, and green looks like it has some good stuff. The problem is it doesn't really have the support for it. So we have the great endgame stuff like Dread Linorum with that scale, deflection, adventure to get good value, Emerald Dragon for a big endgame flyer, 2 Owl Bears on 5 mana, which is really good. The support that we would want to help play these cards and make them as good as possible would be a couple of the mana dorks. We'd want some Scaled Nurturers, the 2 mana 0/2 that taps for green, or a couple of the Understellar Myconids, the 3 mana 1/2 that taps for a mana of any color. However, we have none. We have 0 ramp creatures in green. We only have Follow the Tracks, which is significantly worse than ramp creatures because the ramp creatures can also block, especially the Understellar Myconid is way better than this card. So not committing to the board at 3 mana on turn 3 is a pretty rough deal in a format that's aggressive, because the white decks, the red decks, the black decks, while you're sitting there trying to set up your mana, are playing 3/1s and 3/3s and 2/3 flyers that are making their other creatures flying. So playing a card like this that ramps you up while not putting anything on the board can be a death sentence. That being said, if we went green with Emerald Dragon, Dread Linorum, double Owlbear, we would probably still want to play it. We would at the very least definitely play Pilgrim's Eye, even if we're just in a 2-color deck here, just because this guarantees us hitting our 4th land drop by searching that out of our deck. We definitely play Owlbear Shepherd here, solid blocker that can draw us extra cards if we have a bunch of creatures on board. Muralists is solid. When it dies, we get to 2-drop Emerald Dragon or Dread Linorum. Inspiring Bard is okay filler, Ettercap's okay filler, Underdark Basilisk, and Null Hunter aren't particularly exciting, either of them, but we do want to have our 2 mana creatures to be able to trade off with the aggressive strategies, get some blockers on the board. Poison the Blade is fine, Circle of the Land Druid is fine, but they're probably our least exciting cards out of everything. I suppose Circle of the Land Druid does work similarly to a Pilgrim's Eye. It guarantees us drawing another land, so we can play that in, trade it off early for helping hit our high mana cards. So these are the cards I definitely play in green. Don't think Poison the Blade would be super good with the green cards we have, but if we have a lot of cheap, low power creatures in whatever secondary color we'd play, maybe the Poison the Blade would be okay here. But yeah, green looks fine. Not like great. There's pretty much no removal. There's not a lot of ramp that's good to help get to our big drops. We have to play the Follow the Tracks if we run a ramp. So not a massive fan of the green there. And also not having mana dorks means Ragadrag is pretty much useless for us, unfortunately. Take a look at our red now. We do have the Kobold Warcaller for getting really aggressive. Very good if you can play this turn 1. Very bad if you draw it later in the game. Pretty kind of coin flippy in that sense, but we've got Battlecry Goblin, a great hasting threat that can buff your whole board of goblins. Hobgoblin Captain's another great aggressive card for 2 mana. We have Giant Fire Beetles, great menace double team card, works really well with Kobold Warcaller. Ambergris is huge, being able to haste in and replace your hand once you've cast everything in your hand. Just being able to start drawing 2 every time you empty your hand is really good, and the specialized versions of Ambergris are again pretty powerful. You can do some extra damage or get some +X, all that kind of stuff. There's a Fireball, which I guess we'd play because we don't have any of the better red removal. We don't have Dragon's Fire, we don't have Mephits, whatever, the 2 mana 4 damage removal spell. Not a huge fan of the young red dragons, but they are flyers and board states can get cluttered and sealed, so we could consider that. I would definitely play Valor Singer though, I do like that card. Barbarian just to have more 2-drops. Red looks like a solid aggressive support color, but nothing really pulling us into red as a particularly massively powerful color here. And we did have other options to put in there, but nothing like exciting to look at, just Dueling Rapier and you come to the Knoll campus, some little tricks there. So black looks pretty empty. There's just not a lot of black cards. There are 10 total. And they include very filler stuff like Hook Horror, Manticore, and Grayslad. And the only benefit we're getting of putting these really filler cards in is that we get to now play our color that has 2 rares, and the rares are just 2 black market connections, which is a pretty sketchy, pretty risky rare. I guess if we were red-black, we'd be an aggressive enough color pair to try to make great use of the connections, but just not a ton of black cards, and no black removal is absolutely wild. Your average sealed pool is going to have some amount of black removal, so that's a huge bummer there in that sense. Take a look at our blue now. Blue is pretty much the worst color in the format, so not often you see some really good blue stuff that makes you want to play it, and I think this is another one of those days that I'm not that excited about the blue. Yeah, our best cards here are Young Blue Dragon having a solid adventure and then bringing out a good flyer. The Stored Coast Serpent, another solid adventure, bringing out a hard-to-block creature, because if you cast a non-creature spell, it's completely unblockable. And Air Cult Element is another good late-game card. It's probably the best cards we have here. Dream Fracture is not very good in this format, because again, it's aggressive enough that trying to hold up mana for a counter spell is just not going to work out particularly well. Allura is also really slow for this format. You give your creature unblockable when you attack with it, but then you have to bring it back to your hand in your end step, meaning you have to recast it the turn after you attacked with it, so it won't have haste or anything to get to attack unblockable the next turn. So that's pretty awkward. And then just some really filler stuff, couple Water Weird, couple Frost Giant, couple Looters. Soul Knife Spy is pretty good, but a lot of filler stuff in blue. That's just kind of how blue tends to be. And again, 0 removal spells there. And now, last but certainly not least, the color we're definitely going to play, the only color we actually have removal in, it looks like, is white. And that's also where we have 2 of our bombs. We have Clement, and we have Sune's Intervention. We also have Steadfast Unicorn, which is a great card, good in the early game and good in the late game, with that ability to anthem your whole board, give everything +1/+1. We have Soldiers of the Watch, which is very good on turn 2 with that double team. Getting 2 2/1s off of one card is a pretty great deal. Sea Tower Imprisonment is excellent removal, shutting down a creature's ability to attack, block, or use its abilities, and creating a Soldiers of the Watch on your board. So a 2-for-1 at least, and if you can attack with that Soldiers and get the double team trigger, it's a 3-for-1 special. The issue with Sea Tower Imprisonment is it is still enchantment-based removal, and in this format there are a lot of cards such as Icewind Stalwart that can flicker something that has enchantment-based removal on it to save it, or Pegasus Guardian's Rescue the Full adventure can also flicker a card with an enchantment removal on it to save it. There's also main deckable enchantment removal cards like Dawnbringer Cleric that will blow up an enchantment. There's the Demogorgon in black that can blow up an enchantment when it enters the battlefield. There are green cards that can blow up enchantments. Enchantment-based removal has to be really good for me to really want to play it, and luckily Sea Tower Imprisonment is really good. Now the other option that would make me want to play enchantment removal is just not having other options in my removal, which is kind of where we're at in white even here. So we have 1 Sea Tower Imprisonment as our removal spells, and then the only other removal spells in white are 2 copies of Minimus Containment. I would prefer these to be like you hear something on Watch, non-enchantment based removal, but we don't have any of those, so we'd play both Minimus Containments here in this sealed pool. I do like the Ranger Squadron at the top end of the curve. That's a solid double team card as well. Pegasus Guardian with that Rescue the Full adventure can do some tricksy things, can be solid and sealed. Sealed is slow enough you can do that kind of stuff. We don't have any enter the battlefield effects to abuse with Icewind Stalwart except for Clements, so this is really kind of a sideboard card we can use against enchantment removal from our opponents, because this is going to be a best 2 out of 3 event, but I don't think I really want to main deck these if I could just have creatures in my secondary color that are better than it. I will main deck a Rescuer Tringa though, because it's just a 2-mana 2/2 at worst. We can just play that out turn 2 to actually be putting stuff on board. But honestly, I feel like the sealed pool is pretty dang bad. Like, we have 2 black market connections, but there's no possible build aggressive enough for that to be good. There's Ragadraga with no creatures with mana abilities. There's Belt of Giant Strength, which is also just a bad rare. Like, our best color is white here, and I have no idea what we pair with it. Probably red, just because it has the best creatures. But yeah, all of our other creatures just have some pretty glaring flaws of their own, like they just don't have removal, or our green just doesn't have the ramp to get to its big cards. Seems like a really rough sealed pool here. How does the green-white deck look? Because I think green and red are the colors I'm the most interested in potentially playing here. Maybe we can just use our removal spells to survive till the late game rather than ramping a ton in this kind of green-white deck. We can play the Pilgrim's Eye though for sure, and we still need 3 more cards in here, so we're going to have to play some stuff that's a little more mediocre. I think I would still play Minimus Containment over Spiked Pit Trap. That is very slow removal. It's a 6 mana commitment, 1 mana up front, and then 5 mana later for 5 damage to something. I think I would rather play Minimus Containment. But yeah, I did forget about that. That is actually important in this sealed pool because of our just distinct lack of removal in our colors. Is that Spiked Pit Trap is an option to consider. I guess we could play the Circle of the Land Druid for similar reasons as Pilgrim's Eye, and then if we're playing that alongside like Soldiers of the Watch and stuff, these little creatures that are going to be attacking it a lot, Poison Blade might not be terrible. Then we play like an Ettercap, just because I really don't want to play Follow the Tracks if I don't have to. This would be how the deck looks. It's 18 creatures and 5 non-creatures, a little bit creature heavy, but I don't think we have other non-creature cards that are particularly worth playing. We have this really narrow trick, you're ambushed on the road. The Mace of Disruptions are just really bad. Rally Maneuver, having to hold up 3 mana for your combat trick is pretty rough, even if it is pretty impactful when you put it in the right, when you play it in the right opportunity. I think that would be the closest to something I want to play, Rally Maneuver over the Mace or over the Ambushed on the Road, but I'm still not super into it. And then in green, it's literally just Follow the Tracks or Belt of Giant Strength. Very disinterested in. I guess I could play like 1 Follow the Tracks. We have quite the collection of 6-7 mana cards here. 1 Follow the Tracks is actually probably better for this deck than a combat trick is. Even a big high impact one like Rally Maneuver. So we play a Follow the Tracks and we get to cut 1 creature out of this deck, probably cut one of the 2 drops. Maybe like the Circle of the Land Druid, we're not getting any value out of self-milling, we're just playing this to self-mill so that when it dies we pick up a land from our graveyard. But it's just as a 1/1, it's most likely just going to chump block most of the time. Yeah, that's probably our weakest 2-drop card. Does make sure we are hitting another land though, on average. Putting another land in our hand eventually, even if we don't get the self-mill value. For any other card, just picking up a land from grave is still good for this deck, because we'd like to hit all of our land drops up to 5-6 mana as quickly as possible. Maybe it's Rescuer Tringa as the cut. That's a fine little trick though. Could be Ettercap. Don't have a lot of great flying protection though. And we're relatively low on removal, just 3. Sea Tower Imprisonment, double containment. It is best of 3 though, so we could sideboard the Ettercap and just pull it in every time we see a flyer. Play Circle of the Land Druid first. I actually do kind of like this green-white deck. I think this deck could really grind out a nice game. It's got a lot of nice little value plays. Pilgrim's Eye and Circle of the Land Druid both put us up a card after we pick up that land. The Poison the Blade lets us trade something off and draw a card. We've got, obviously, Sea Tower Imprisonment, which can be 2 or 3 for 1. Owlbear Shepherd could draw us extra cards throughout the game. Draconic Muralists gets to tutor up a big creature when it dies, between Emerald Dragon or Dread Linnorm. Dread Linnorm gives us the big adventure and then comes out as a giant endgame threat. Double Owlbear, both draw a card when we play it. Seems like just a good, like, grinding out kind of value deck. I actually kind of do like the green-white build. So I'm going to save the deck as is, so I don't have to rebuild it if I end up deciding upon it. But I am going to take a look at the potential red-white deck as well. See what the more aggressive lean looks like. And if that looks worth it to me. Well, we're going to have to run some very filler stuff because I still need 3 more cards. Qualifier Weekend is a fun card. Never felt like monstrously good. It also never felt like monstrously bad. Well, it did in like 1 or 2 games feel monstrously bad, but felt solid most of the time. Just like fine. Only 15 creatures in an aggressive deck. I guess we're playing the red dragons just to have some flyers in here. And some more creatures up the creature count. Any red creatures with enter the battlefield effects for the stalwart? Nope. Sure don't. I don't know what our last additions are to this deck. Maybe like 1 Spiked Pit Trap, 1 Craving of Yenogu, 1 You Come to the Knoll Camp, 17 creatures, 5 non-creatures, 1 Dueling Rapier, 1 random little trick kind of thing. Maybe the big rally maneuver trick. Before we see our last edition, let's really take a look at this deck and see if it seems better. This is very aggressive. This is very aggressive, but it is using some somewhat filler stuff on the curve. It's not like the perfect aggressive deck where you want like all of your creatures to have double team. We only have 2 double team cards in the deck. Do have some pretty filler creatures like Double Young Red Dragon, Reckless Barbarian, Goblin Trap Finder as well. Never found to be massively good. We're still running a Pilgrim's Eye, which is really filler for an aggro deck. Our removal isn't very efficient. It's not very cheap. Costs 3 mana or more for our removal. This deck does seem solid. This deck is probably about as good as the green-white deck, but I think the green-white deck a little better. Just has more longevity. It can really grind out a game. This deck can really just run out of gas quick. Just kind of just how aggro is in general, so maybe I'm overestimating that problem. But I think I want to go with the green-white deck. It's also just a funner strategy in my opinion. Alright, so here's a look at the green-white deck again. We'll take a look because we have a Pilgrim's Eye, double Prophetic Prism, and Follow the Tracks that we could use. We'll take a look and see if there's anything we want to actually splash out of another color, but I don't think anything we had was like just an easily splashable, like, good card to throw in. Definitely nothing in blue. Definitely not splashing Black Market Connections. Everything in red is just like stuff we want to play early in the game, nothing we really want to splash in later. Ragadraga is not doing anything. Yeah, there's really nothing we want to splash, so I think we just keep the deck as is. I suppose we could consider, now that we're green-white, putting in Icewind Stalwart. It does synergize with Pilgrim's Eye and both Owlbears and Inspiring Bard, but Inspiring Bard duplicating that effect doesn't really matter. I might actually like 1 Stalwart over the Circle of the Land Druid. I'm still not completely sold on that card. The fact that it has to chump block to get your land. I guess it's going to be good in certain matchups against the decks that have a lot of 2/1s and 3/1s, like Soldiers of the Watch and stuff like that. So we can definitely consider it for that one. But I think I'm going to go back to just starting it in the sideboard, playing 1 Icewind Stalwart for potential synergies with Pilgrim's Eye and Owlbear, and the potential 1 main decked card that can get rid of a Sea Tower Imprisonment on one of our cards. Yeah, I think this is going to be the deck that we go with. We have an exactly even split of white and green cards here. A little bit more white in the early game, so maybe we go 9 white and 8 green. That seems fine to me. so we can more consistently, you know, turn 1 Unicorn into turn 2 Clement or something like that. Yeah, I think this is gonna be the deck. So here's a look at the final deck we've decided to go in. Pretty mediocre sealed pool this time around for the qualifier play-in event, unfortunately. But I think we managed to build something pretty solid. Nice, like green-white, grindy sort of deck with a lot of 2-for-1 value to try to take over the game as it progresses. We have plenty of 2 and 1 mana creatures so that we don't just die to the aggro decks. We can play all this stuff out, get the game really started, get blocking and all that stuff. But then we do have all their nice value plays later in the game. Owlbears being 2-for-1s, Pilgrim's Eye 2-for-1. Soldiers, if it gets the double team off, can be as well. We have Icewind Stalwart to maybe double up an Owlbear or Pilgrim's Eye trigger. Owlbear Shepherd could maybe draw us cards throughout the game. We have solid removal. 1C Tower Imprisonment is incredible, but then we did have to play a couple Minimus Containments, which are definitely worse, just because we need more removal in the deck. We even have like a random Poison the Blade, I guess, in here just for another non-creature card. Maybe that'd be better as a second Follow the Tracks, but I think it's fine when we have cards like Pilgrim's Eye and Soldiers of the Watch and Steadfast Unicorn that are just these cheap little expendable dorks that aren't going to block particularly well later in the game. Yeah, and then we have some big late game after we get that value stuff. We've got the big old Dreadlenorm, big old Emerald Dragon, Ranger Squadron. When you double team that and get 2 of them is huge, and Sune's Intervention. So a couple real good rares, Sune's Intervention and Clement. We're hoping those can take us to victory in the games where we draw those, and when we don't, just a traditional kind of green-white 2-for-1 sort of deck, which feels like what the green-white decks in this format really do. They just play all the creatures that say draw a card when they enter the battlefield. So we'll see how it does as we head into round 1 of the qualifier play-in event. Alright, so round 1, our opponent has chose to play first, so we're on the draw with this hand, and we know we can play Chwing and Null Hunter, so I'm going to keep it. But we do need to hit some more lands relatively quickly. That's why it's good we're on the drop. Wow, that was creepy. I think it came from over my shoulder and flew onto my opponent's board. Okay then. Mono blue so far from our opponent. Dragonborn Lure, turn 2. Get our Null Hunter here. We are 0 for 2 on land draws so far. Starting to get a little worried here. Definitely need to hit a land next turn. Really trying to get up to 5 mana here. So missing 2 land drops in a row is a pretty bad start for us. Alright, our opponent has seeked some new knowledge. Drawing 2 non-lands, putting a card from their hand on bottom. They've got a Looter and a Unicorn out. If I attack with Null Hunter, I trade into one of those of my choice. If damage went on the stack still, Rescuer Trigger would be insane here. I guess I'm just passing turn. We are really hoping for that land now. We are 0 for 3 on land draws. But now we did draw into a Follow the Tracks, so if we draw 1 land, we essentially draw 2. We can just play our land, play Follow the Tracks, get set up mana-wise. I could force my opponent to spend all 4 of their mana here by just picking up my Null Hunter, so I kind of like that. That way we know they're not playing any other spells or committing onto the board. Oh, wow, it was a bluff. It was a bluff. They had something they really wanted to do for 4 mana. They were just threatening the attack of like, yeah, you're not going to block because I'll just kill that. Or they're going to Humiliation. They could have just spent the 4 to kill it. So maybe they have a 3 mana card they really want to play. Here's what's going on. Either way, that actually just worked really well for us now. If they don't have another instant, we just got a 3-for-1 here. We got rid of Patriarch's Humiliation and Unicorn, and we still have Null Hunter. So that was really good. Oh my god, and now if we ever get our mana for Icewind Stalwart, we can flicker our Chwinga, save it from the Charmed Sleep. If we hit like any lands here, I think we've got this game unlocked, but we are now 0 for 4? 0 for 5? It is looking rough. Luckily, our opponent doesn't have much going on either. Ooh, well, that's a good card to have here. 3 1/1s at instant speed. They're going to trade off into our 2/2. Inspiring Bard's one of the most mediocre cards in our hand. Yeah, I think I dropped that. Unfortunately for us, our opponent has mana and a Dragonborn Looter active to be digging for whatever they need. Alright, let's just follow the tracks here, get another green source for the Owlbear. We have a counterspell here? Okay, good. That'd actually be really rough if they just countered our mana ramp there. That'd be really rude. But no counterspell from our opponent. Looks like they're digging through some mana flood there with the Looter. Looter's definitely doing its job. We've hit the land we need to try to drop an Owlbear. I think if they had a counterspell, they probably would have used it on follow tracks, but maybe not. Maybe they do get to counter Owlbear here. I'm just going to go for it. I'm not really going to bait out a counterspell with Icewind Stalwart, because Icewind Stalwart is just almost as valuable, because we draw a guaranteed 2/2 onto our board. We just save our Rescuer Chwinga from the Charmed Sleep. So I'm just going to make the most of my mana, go for our best spell here. They do have a counterspell. Well, get that out of the way so Sune's Intervention can show up later. I like our matchup here against this blue-white deck. Most of their removal is probably enchantment-based, where Icewind Stalwart's going to be good in this matchup, Sune's Intervention's going to be good in this matchup for blowing up enchantments. We can Owlbear Shepherd and Poison the Blade, or I can Draconic Muralists and do nothing else, or I can Stalwart and do nothing else. I'll go for Muralists here. Alright, no counterspell. I wanted to go for Muralists because I was actually more okay with Muralists getting countered than Stalwart getting countered. I guess both are also, again, pretty solid. Okay, Flaming Fist Officer from our opponents. Now we have the Pegasus Guardian to flicker something. Another card that's really good against Charmed Sleep. I don't want to play too many cards like this because then they might sideboard them out. Right? They might sideboard out their enchantment removal. Make their deck better against us. So, hoping we have so many cards in hand, we have so many good plays that we can just do enough good stuff without having to like save our 2/2 from this Charmed Sleep, because it's not a ton of value. It's solid though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 power if I play Owlbear Shepherd. Not enough to draw cards off of it yet. Yeah, I guess our best play this turn is just to play Stalwart then. Yeah, we kind of have to. Best thing we can do here. Clement is the draw. An Owlbear Shepherd and Clement. Can Poison the Blade and Owlbear Shepherd. Fine with trades here. I think I just still want to hold on to Containment just in case. Threaten these trades. If no trades happen, we're slamming down this Owlbear Shepherd. Drawing some cards. Humiliation. They're going to do 2 damage to it and make it lose its abilities. That's fine because it still doesn't die. That's actually super fine. I don't think we need to flicker and save that. So there's 1-for-1 trade into this Looter here. Or 2-for-1 trade into it. We got rid of Humiliation and Looter. It's actually just incredibly fine. And then I guess we go Clement. Oh, we can actually Clement. If I Clement first and then play Owlbear Shepherd, then we have 8 power still, because 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 power actually. And you start drawing extra cards each turn. What does that do? Seek 2 instant sorcery cards with mana value of 3, then exile them at the beginning of your upkeep. You may copy a card exiled with signature spells, and you may cast a copy without paying its mana cost. They have no cards in exile. Oh, they already hit them all. They had Undersimplify, Patriarch's Humiliation, and Seek New Knowledge. They had 4 in their deck. But they're gone, so signature spells just does nothing. That is so rough. This is not going particularly well for our opponent here. This was a really rough game for our opponent. This matchup was really good for us, and that signature spells whiff was rough. So we'll see how they sideboard into game 2. We can definitely make some adjustments around now that they know we have Rescue Berchwinga and Icewind Stalwart. Probably try not to play as much enchantment removal. Maybe that even involves them playing a completely different color pair. That is one thing that's worth noting. We can swap into like a Boros aggro deck if we're in a matchup that we think is a matchup where Boros aggro is like our only shot. Just try to outrace their really good late game deck or something like that. Because we can put in any number of lands in sealed sideboard and draft sideboard. But no, I think this matchup's pretty much perfect for us. I don't even think we want to put in like Guardian Naga for more artifact enchantment removal or Dawnbringer Cleric for more enchantment removal, because we just already like flicker and save our stuff from enchantment-based removal. Like, unless we think they're going to keep signature spells in and get a good hit off of it, but it looked like they don't really have great hits off of signature spells. I guess Patriarch's Humiliation is pretty good if they hit that off of signature spells, but their counter spell's pretty bad. Their draw 2 is like fine. I'm not that worried about signature spells where I really want to put in a card that's just enchantment removal. I think I can just outrace that card, and they might even cut it because of how bad it was game 1, where it did literally nothing for 6 mana. So I don't really want to sideboard around a card that might just get cut. Although, that being said, there's always going to be a target for Guardian Naga. I mean, there's pretty much always, because they have enchantment-based removal and the big bomb enchantment if they don't completely swap their deck around. Yeah, sure, we can put that in over one of our other big drops. Ranger Squadron or something, I guess. See what happens here. I would not be surprised if our opponent just like swaps colors. All of blue's removal is either counterspells or enchantments. So I wouldn't be surprised if their sealed pool has the support for it, that we're playing against black-white or something different now. This hand is bad. This hand is also not great, but we hit a single land and we have Pilgrim's Eye, and then it gets a lot better. I actually think we get rid of this Guardian Naga that we literally just sideboarded in. Oh, hello. That's so... It's like, what are you doing on my shoulder? Get out of here, please. Sure, you have a dragon friend that's scaring me, but do you have a book? No. Considering countering our Null Hunter, and they are going to counter Null Hunter. Don't want to deal with it. Pseudo Dragon Familiar. Pilgrim's Eye, pretty great against that. Alright, we're going to start holding up our adventures. Steadfast Unicorn, they don't have the mana to use it yet, but next turn that'll be pretty good, because then they get to attack into Pilgrim's Eye freely, because they know they can just give +1/+1 and have a 3/2 flyer against my 1/1 flyer. I can surprise, scale deflection, but then they'd still trade, so it's not the greatest scale deflection ever. Still probably just do it though. I think it's better than just flickering the Pilgrim's Eye. We have all the lands we need. We're not getting much value by just thinning our deck out of one more basic. I guess I do need to draw one more land to be able to cast the Dread Linorm later. Okay. Send in Pseudo-Dragon Familiar. Don't send in Pseudo-Dragon Familiar. Pass the turn. Alright. Okay, now we definitely have all the lands we need. That's all 7 for Dread Linorm. We're just chilling on our butts. We know our opponent has at least... Well, actually, we know they have exactly 2 Patriarch's Humiliations. Because if they had a third, it would have been pulled out by their enchantment. So we do need to play around Patriarch's Humiliation. Keep that in mind when we're using Scale Deflection, that there's always a risk they can Patriarch's Humiliation, which if they do that in response to Scale Deflection and destroy what we're targeting, not only will Scale Deflection not resolve, but Dread Linorm will go into our graveyard too. So we need to definitely keep that in mind, and maybe even just go for Rescue the Fold, just because we don't want to lose Dread Linorm if we're worried they have a Patriarch's Humiliation and we need to use some kind of trick. I think that we have the time to wait until I have 7 mana to cast this Owlbear, because we also know they have 2 Undersimplify in their deck. But I'm like, this game, much like last game, is just so slow. I think I can just wait till I have 7 mana to try to cast Owlbear. Send in just Pseudo-Dragon Familiar. So I'm gonna try to just block and rescue the Foal. Still bad if they Patriarch's Humiliation in response, because Pegasus Guardian will go into the grave, but it's not as bad as if they had responded to a Scale Deflection. And I feel like if they don't Humiliation in response to that, that means they probably don't have Humiliation in hand. Okay, they have a Rescuer Chwinga. Sure, Chwinga is on the board. Pick up Unicorn so they can cast it and get a counter on the Monk. In this matchup, again, against a deck with double Humiliation, I'm tempted to just get my value and get my +1/+1 counters guaranteed now. So I know that Linorm isn't getting countered, or the Adventure isn't getting got by a Patriarch's Humiliation, so I'm going to do that. I'm just going to get my Linorm value right now. I'm going to get 2 counters on the flyer so we can trade into that 3/3 flyer, or 4/3 flyer if they double pump with Unicorn, and then while their shields are down, I'm just going to slam down the Linorm. And with a 7/6 on board, we're out racing enough to send in the Pilgrim's Eye? Probably. They can double buff if they draw land. 3 power, 4 power, 4 power flyer, 4 power there. But Linorm just like blocks and kills one unless they have Humiliation. But we take 4 in the sky, but then we're cracking back for 7. We have more blockers. Yeah, we have more good blockers. I think we can get on the aggressive here and plan on winning this race. Allura Rogue Companion. So one of their creatures can get unblockable each turn, but whatever creature is getting unblockable has to go back to their hand in their end step. So the ideal kind of card to work with that is like Priest of Ancient Lore. Okay, we have Rescuer Chwinga now. That's a good one. Definitely interested in an Owlbear, building up Chwinga mana. Cool. And we just kill our opponent in 2 swings here, because they can't block Dreadlorm at all on board. And that just means they're dead next turn, taking 7 unblockably. Alright, so now we have our instant speed Chwinga, being able to return something to hand, or we have our instant speed Banishing Coils on Guardian Naga. If our opponent tries to play a Charmed Sleep or something to survive, just Charmed Sleep on Linworm. Alright, give the board +1/+1 Vigilance. Hit us for 3 in the sky. End step. Looks like we've got it on board. Go for it here. Hit for 7, they can't block. They can block Pilgrim's Eye, but the 7 gets through. Alright, 7 gets through. That's going to be 2-0 in round 1. That is 1 match victory, guaranteeing 500 gems back. Oh, guaranteeing 2,000 gems back. Oh. Why would they... That's a weird way to do it. Why do you get 500 gems for 0 wins instead of just making it cost 3,500 up front instead of 4,000 gems? That's weird. That's weird. Anyways, 1 more win and we'll get 4,500 gems back. We'll be at a net positive here at least. So hopefully we can win next round as well. Here we are now in round 2. I will be on the play. That's pretty much always an advantage in this format, as it has been in Limited for quite some time, for most formats. We've got Clement turn 1 into a 3/2 Soldiers of the Watch, or turn 2 into a 3/2 Soldiers of the Watch turn 3. This is a nice start for being on the play. Double Minimus Containment and a Dread Linnorm's Scale Deflection at the ready on turn 4. Opponent does not have a 2-drop creature. We'll see if they have set off traps or something. If so, we can Rescuer Chwinga up our Clements and get another buff on all our creatures. Playing a little slower, which might not be worth it, but I think value-wise it's probably... Like, it's definitely better in the long game. I just don't know if we're supposed to be playing the long game when we started with turn 2 Clement, or just trying to aggro like crazy. Fingers crossed, a land here. We can go Clement and then play a 4/3 Soldiers of the Watch. Oh my god, that's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. Definitely what we're doing. See if they want to trade into our Chwinga. Probably not, because that's a flyer. Alright, so Clement, and then Soldiers. 4/3 Soldiers of the Watch. Let's go. Minthara of the Absolute, they are tapped out and we get to hold up Scale Deflection here. So we attack all and Scale Deflection when they try to kill Clement. Okay, the duplicate you get off of Double Team is the original printed card. It does not copy any perpetual stuff. It's a little sad, but still pretty good. Alright, there's the disgusting Scale Deflection there. Our opponent's down to 12 now, and our board state is pretty ridiculous. Our opponent does get a lot of scry off this Nefarious Imp here. Not a lot of scry, but they get a scry off the Nefarious Imp. Land for turn, that's 5 mana. They drop a Horde Robber, a 1/3 blocker on the ground, and a Skullport Merchant on the ground. Another good card there. Send in with the Imp, hit us down to 16. Probably going to turn the merchant into a treasure token before they can get any value off of it. And then we'll play Soldiers of the Watch post-combat, I guess, is the plan. Unless we want to make a green Clement. Make Clement a 4/4 base, that'll be a 6/6. Ooh. Patriarch's Humiliation. It's not great for us. Not the worst, though. They just kill one of our creatures. Yeah, send in Clement and Chwinga here. They stop the 2 damage, but they take 4. This is just so if they were interested in chump blocking Clement, we still deal 2 damage. They probably weren't going to do that, though. Swinging with Horde Robber and Imp. Okay, we're taking 3. Owlbear is the draw, pretty good one. We have Lethal on board to just send in and see what happens. Definitely don't discard a card to Clement, because then if they have removal, we get hit even harder. Removal and Grim Wanderer. Jesus Christ, that is the 2-card hand you want there. We're down to 6 now, though. Owlbear's the biggest thing on board. The funny thing is, somehow it actually would have been better if we specialized Clement, because Clement would be a 6/6, which could survive You Hear Something on Watch. So they'd have to blow up a different one of our creatures with You Hear Something on Watch and then not kill Clement. That's so annoying. These are like the correct draws for sure. I guess Nefarious Imp is just putting in work here. Nefarious Imp has been setting up these draws. Give them a Soldiers of the Watch, I guess. I believe it gets to double team. Yeah, that's insane. Gets to double team. We take 7. That puts us down to 6 life. We trade with Wanderer. I can containment the Horde Robber and attack in, put them to 2, but then I just take lethal next turn, so next turn I'm playing a 4/4 Flying Trample Dragon. I guess my plan here is to try to just find lethal with Linnorm. So I just trade with Grim Wanderer, hope to hit a land, I just go land Linnorm, and then I minimus containment anything they have with more than 3 power, if I need to. Yeah, I think I'm going to take this trade, so I can survive longer and just try to hit that 1 more land for Linnorm, even if it takes another turn, potentially. Okay, they scry to the bottom, they drop the soldiers. And there's the land. They need a removal spell or they're dead to Linnorm. Very dead to Linnorm. I forgot it's a 9/8 instead of a 7/6. So they're going to get their double scry off the Imp here. Scry to the bottom. Scry to the bottom. Final draw, does it get them there? This is a great pool. Alright, does not get them there. We are gonna kind of narrowly win game 1. How do we sideboard against this deck? What is the problem here that we're dealing with? A mountain of removal, basically. Double You Hear Something on Watch, Patriarch's Humiliation, Grave Choice. They have Minthara. as a big bomb. Grim Wanderer, because they have enough removal to consistently cast that on board. Skullport Merchant is a big card draw engine. Just a very nice white-black treasure/aristocrat style deck. They have Nefarious Imp. They don't actually have Soldiers of the Watch. I love that we can see them looking at our graveyard too, figuring out how to side. That's so cool. Okay. So if we have more flicker effects, like on Pegasus Guardian, that's pretty good. Icewind Stalwart is not, though, because they don't really have like Minimus Containments type stuff. Nor is like Artifact or Enchantment Removal very good. I think we just have the best deck we could have against them here. At baseline, we could swap to like the Boros aggro build, I guess. I think we can grind out a long game still with the whole draw extra cards, draw a dragon when this dies, hexproof something out of nowhere. I think I'm running it back. Anything that's really bad against them, Poison the Blade doesn't do much of anything. Their creatures are mostly small enough to just die in the first place. What would we swap it out for? Follow the Tracks? Ettercap, they did have a flyer. They did have Nefarious Imp. Sure, I guess I'll take out Poison the Blade for Ettercap. That is just how I'll sideboard. I'm trying to find my pin. I want to write down their tricks to keep them in mind. I guess I'll just pull open Notepad. 2, you hear something on watch. 1, Humiliation. Patriarch's Humiliation. 1, Grave Choice. So that's 4 instants that we saw that I can think of. I don't like this hand that much, but Sune's Intervention is really good against them because they have a lot of good 1-for-1 removal. We just have to hope they don't have an aggressive start here. This is really risky, but I actually think I'm going to keep it here. They didn't seem that aggressive generally. But a Moles to 5 on the play here, and we have a Sea Tower Imprisonment now. From what we've seen, that should be solid in this matchup. Don't think I saw anything that would stop a Sea Tower Imprisonment. Oh, hey, there's Clement. That's a solid draw. Now we have a play that can pull out one of the removal spells here. Oh wait, no, if they have Grave Choice, that's actually disgusting. Okay, they don't have Grave Choice yet. But yeah, if they Grave Choice, they get our Clement. Blessed Hippogriff is the play. So we imprison that, and now if they have Grave Choice, we just sacrifice a 2-1. Which is fine. Strider. Strider kind of stops the fun now. Could flip Clement on white or green. Green Clement seems pretty good. Flip to green Clement. That way I can still attack in with Clements. And if Clement dies in combat, that's fine. And if Clement doesn't trade in combat, we can still flicker Clement to get the 4/4 and untap Clement and then block Drider. When they go for the attack next turn, that should be absolutely disgusting if they don't have instant speed removal that's big enough to kill Clement, which we know their instant speed removal is Patriarch's Humiliation, which won't do it. You hear something on watch, which won't do it because it won't be attacking. This should probably just be game. Because we're going to get 2 4/4s here. We get a 4/4, then we trade with Drider and get another 4/4. Unless they do have an instant speed removal spell we haven't seen yet. They do, they have a Guiding Bolt as well. That is pretty dang good here. Rough. That's actually incredible here. Jesus, that is a lot of removal in their deck. Still gets a block Drider though, but that does stop us from overwhelming with a million 4/4s, and it kills our Pegasus Guardian permanently, which is rough. It's going to be really obvious we're holding up an intervention, but I'm still going to play an intervention. Asterion, hello there. You big old scary vampire. Owlbear Shepherd, draw extra cards. We've got all the blockers in the world for Asterion. 7 mana here, we go Stalwart and Shepherd. Nothing really to do with Stalwart, but still putting a 4/4 on board is solid. And draw a card in our end step. Minthara of the Absolute. Nothing to really up their intensity with to buff their board at all right now. Their creatures are not expendable, Asterion or Minthara. Unicorn was a pretty sick draw. Ooh, Humiliation on Shepherd, so we stop drawing cards. Does pretty much kill it. Now we just have a 1/4 with no text. Alright, now we just Unicorn. Go for the Vigilant attack with the 5/5. The only way it dies is if it trades with Asterion, which gets Asterion off the board. And we drop a post-combat Soldiers so that next turn we can double pump with Unicorn, attack with everybody, and just find lethal. Because all of our attackers will have 4 power next turn. We send in with just the Knights, the Soldiers, the Stalwart. That should pretty easily find lethal. The only way dropping the Soldiers is bad is if our opponent has a Wrath as well, on top of the Hear Something on Watch, Humiliations, Grave Choice, Guiding Bolt, all that. Alright, we are going to take the trade here, so we're killing Asterion. Which means their intensity is going up. Minthara will be a 3/4. Minthara is shooketh. Alright, double pump. Steadfast Unicorn is a ridiculous magic card. So they can have you hear something on Watch here to clear out our Unicorn, and then they can trade Minthara into a 4/3, and then they take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Looks like they do not have the instant speed removal, so that's just going to be game. We are now 2-0 in our matches, which guarantees we're up in gems. We got 4,500 gems out of this event. Pretty nice run so far. Round 3 of the Qualifier Play-In Sealed event. We are going to be playing first in Game 1 again. We have a turn 2 Chwinga, and then some big late game flyers, Pegasus Guardian and Emerald Dragon. Not the most efficient start here, just a 2/2 for a while, but definitely not gonna mulligan that. Kobold Warcaller starting things off for our opponent. Always a scary card to see, giving their cards in hand haste. Here's the Chwinga. So So opponent is holding here. They could have Tears, Blessing, or Patriarch's Humiliation. Let's get our attack in with Twing and then drop Clement. Kind of hoping that their card isn't a Patriarch's Humiliation. Hoping it is a Tears Blessing that they're holding up here. I guess I could really play around Humiliation and just wait till turn 4 so that I could play Clement holding up Pegasus Guardian's ability to use the adventure. Because now if they do play a 2-mana creature, they can play a 2-mana creature and a Patriarch's Humiliation if that is their card in hand. Improvised weaponry anyway, so I guess we could have flickered around that instead. Yeah, I probably should have waited on Clement, because flickering Clement also gives an additional +1/+1 to my Emerald Dragon. Makes it a 6-mana 6/6 flying trample. And we didn't have any other action for turn 4, we were kind of just banking on drawing something to do this turn. Probably should have just played to my hand there and been a little slower. Scouting Hawk. Sure. I guess I could pick up my planes by picking up Chwinga and then making me pick up a land, but that's probably not worth it. So that slows me down and I have 6 drops in hand, just to stop my opponent from ramping. Oh my god, Sune's Intervention? We're doing everything turn 6. Everything under the moon. Chwinga's getting in again, they're down to 14. Consistently getting in for that 2 damage. Vladimir and Godfrey. That is incredibly good on this board state. They can resurrect it from the graveyard as long as they have 1/1 on board. They have 2 1/1s on board. So we're just never going to try to kill that thing. So just keep getting it back. We're going to give a different creature in hand haste. The Rabble Rouser is going to get haste here. And that is rough, because even if I flicker my Chwinga, it's not big enough to kill Rabble Rouser. Can still stop a damage with it though. Might as well. I guess unless they have Patriarch's Humiliation here and not Tears Blessing. But we might never know what they have. Pretty good last turn for our opponent here. So we have 6 mana to play a Pegasus Guardian as a 4/4 flyer, or play an Intervention, or play a 5/5 Flying Trample, or I guess Pilgrim's Eye is an option, but that doesn't make much sense. 5/5 Flying Trample, or do we drop a bunch of stuff out? It's going to be really obvious that we're just holding up Intervention if we hold it up. I mean, our opponent knows we have Instants, but it's a rare, so it's a little harder to play around. I think I want to just go for the Pegasus Guardian, because this is revealed information, so as long as that's in our adventure zone, they'll just know that we're holding stuff up when we're not choosing to cast that. But as soon as it like just comes back to our turn and we pass, like it's possible that we're just holding lands and bluffing. It'll be harder for them to play around Intervention and stuff like that. And a 4/4 body is big enough to keep most of their stuff off of us. Even the Rabble Rousers to an extent, because they have to pump them 3 times, so they'd have to crack their treasure token and spend all of their mana pumping Rabble Rouser to beat Guardian. So this just has to draw a removal spell. And if this draws a removal spell, that's one less removal spell to hit our 5/5 flying trample instead of our 4/4. Warcaller still doing the Warcaller thing. Dropping a giant fire beetles with menace and haste. Very good. They've got the Boros double team deck for sure. They've got the Warcaller plus the fire beetles plus the Rabble Rouser plus unexpected allies to double up fire beetles. Double team. Let's go. Yep, seems strong. Alright. I mean, we're letting them get back Vladfear and Goffrey, but they come back tapped. They do come back bigger, but they come back tapped, and it's going to require a bunch of their mana, and they have plenty of other better creatures to just play here, I think. So that's why I'm pretty fine just going with that. I would like one of our cards to leave the battlefield this turn for Pegasus Guardian, but we can't really do that. I'm just playing a land. I do attack in, and then I just intervention. Because they are pretty low. We're putting them down to 10 now. Might even be better to play Emerald Dragon, though, because then we're really threatening them in the sky, and they're already kind of low. Them even lower. Yeah, I actually think Emerald Dragon might be it, because they didn't have removal for Pegasus Guardian last turn. If they still don't have removal, we kill them in the sky really quickly, and Sune's intervention should give us everything we need to survive their attacks next turn, to be able to just attack 2 turns in a row to find lethal. Because that'll give us 2 2/2s, that'll gain us some life. Should give us the tools we need to survive long enough to kill them with our flyers. So Warcaller giving another card haste here. Playing a Flaming Fist of Dusk Guard, and then probably like a Hasty Beetles or something. Yeah, Hasty Beetles. Sure. Gonna get hit kind of hard here, but we'll hit back harder. One card in hand here, one mana up with this treasure token. There's no way it's Humiliation. They would have played it by now. I guess they get to kill a Chwinga here, but I think we do block the bigger beetles. Because for 1 mana, maybe it's Dueling Rapier, I guess? I feel like Patriarch's Humiliation would have already been cast. Tyr's Blessing doesn't really do much here, because it's not going to kill our Emerald Dragon, it just kills our Chwinga on the ground. Unless it's specifically like Dueling Rapier. Okay, it is Tyr's Blessing, so we'll need to keep that in mind. It is the Blessed Hippogriff, so I'll keep that in mind as a definite trick. Okay, so we have Ranger Squadron now to play even more flyers, but I don't think we want to do that. I think we just want to play Sune's Intervention to survive. 2 swings of Emerald Dragon gets there, right? Because if we hit now and they don't block, they go to 5. In which case, if they block Dragon then, it tramples over for 4 and Guardian hits for 4 and they're definitely dead. If they do block now, we hit them for 4, they go down to 6. And then we double attack and win next turn. I guess they're playing a Blessed Hippogriff, that's the problem. They're playing a Blessed Hippogriff next turn, so we actually have to attack both? And hope Intervention is enough to survive next turn? Yeah, I guess we do. So we have to attack both here, so we can break through that Hippogriff next turn for lethal. We just need them to not find lethal here through a Sune's Intervention. Currently they're hitting for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 12 if they double buff Rabble Rouser, so currently not lethal. They have to haste out another creature at least. So they're going to have to commit more cards to trying to kill us here if they don't have removal. Okay, give a creature haste. A Rabble Rouser it is. Buff both Rousers, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Still not lethal. and incredibly not lethal once we do this, which we will do to play it safe. Do this pre-combat so we're making some blocks and gaining life. And we draw into Minimus Containment if they do play a post-combat flyer to definitely find lethal on them. The most damage we can stop is like that. We take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 if they buff, but we're at 16 now. Genasi, Rabble. Just keeping in mind of what's in their deck here. We saw 1 Genasi Rabble Rouser and 1 Giant Fire Beetles. They just doubled up the beetles to get 3. And we saw unexpected allies, not unexplained allies. Alright, we just go for it. Yep, they scoop them up. 1-0 in round 3 so far. So we saw the Blessed Hippogriff, Unexpected Allies, Improvised Weaponry, Kobold Warcaller, Genasi Rabble Rouser, Giant Firebill, Scouting Hawk, Vladimir, and Godfrey. We only saw 1 removal spell, and it was a sorcery speed removal spell for 2 damage, so we'll keep that in mind for playing around it. However, don't really have any sideboard options that are particularly good against that that bad counter removal. Ettercap is fine. We saw a Scouting Hawk and a Blessed Hippogriff, I guess. So Ettercap would be fine here. Is there anything that's definitely better than? I like Linorm, Dragon, Sune's Intervention, Ranger Squadron, and Pegasus Guardian. Squadron might be a little slow. Stalwart, again, doesn't do too much in this matchup unless we're flickering our own cards, so unless we're getting like Pegasus Guardian value, Owlbear value, Inspiring Bard value, but we can get enough of that value. I don't think we cut that. Maybe cut a Follow the Tracks here. Maybe even a Minimus Containment. Most of their threats was like just spreading the board really, really wide. We didn't see anything we would want to Minimus Containment because we're turning like a 2-2 or a 1-3 off. I guess the same problem shows up for Poison the Blade, so we could cut a Poison the Blade for Ettercap. Because everything we would kill with Poison the Blade, we would already just kill most of the time without Death Touch. So I'll play an Ettercap over Poison the Blade here, and that is the adjustment I'm gonna make. Alright, opponent is on the play. We have a turn 2 Null Hunter, turn 3 Follow the Tracks to get to Emerald Dragon sooner. We've got Inspiring Bard to gain some life in this matchup. Solid hand. Definite keep. Steadfast Paladin turn 2. I'm gonna take that trade for Null Hunter. I guess I could get Tears Blessinged. They have green in their deck, red, white, and green. Could have been a switch in the sideboard, or it could have been in there from the start. Craving of Yanogu. We need removal. We need it now. I'm glad I didn't cut any Minimus Containments, because if we don't hit one, we're going to lose to Craving on a lifelinker. Follow the Tracks, pull a land out of our deck, thin the deck out a little bit. Oh wait, we don't pull up. We create a new land. We're not actually searching for a land with that. It's not Rampant Growth. Probably just losing to turn 2 Paladin, turn 3 Craving this game. Just gonna be a quick one. The Battlecry Goblin with haste as well. It spits out a Goblin token. Or not. Not want to give the Goblin haste. They're playing another creature then? No, I don't know what they wanted to do with their mana there if they didn't want to just give the Goblin haste and attack for 8, spit out a 1/1. Can't play any creatures big enough to block this Paladin. Or trade with this paladin. I guess I can double block it, but then they have Cravings Engraved to put on something else. Just gain some life. It's a brutal start for us. Just like 3 mana, +3/+3. Auras are always just like the removal test. It's like, does your opener have removal? If yes, I probably lose, because I just got 2 for 1 really hard. If no, you probably lose, because you're just getting slammed. Getting absolutely slammed. And we failed the removal test this game. Again, if I trade off into the Steadfast Paladin, Craving is still just coming back as +2 to their next creature and giving haste to it. I could double buff with Goblin to kill both my blockers here. I can definitely kill both of these, and that would soak up all their mana if I put the 3/3 on there. They have to spend pretty much everything making this Goblin big enough to win that fight. Unless they have a trick in hand, then they save the Battlecry Goblin, but still spend all of their mana and now card as well. Now we know they have You Hear Something on Watch. Still no removal. That is just game. Oh. We don't even have removal we can sideboard in to stop this. Because we can put in our spiked pit trap, but if we're not doing the removal until, like, now, we still would have taken all that damage. It's rough. We just need removal if they're going to have an opener like that. Just need to draw one of our 3 removal spells. Yeah, this game is gone. This game is over. We're dead no matter what. If I block there, they can double pump. That's 4, 5, 6, 7. If I block there, they can single pump. That's 5, 6, 7. If I block there, that's already lethal. So wherever I go, I'm dead. They just spend 4 mana, double bump the goblins, and it's lethal. That was a rough game. So we can play some Dawnbringer Clerics to blow up that enchantment to make it smaller, because they'll have to recast it from grave, and every time they do, it does give -2/-2 next time. Play some cheaper tricks like You're Ambushed on the Road. I guess we can play Guardian Nog is actually good against that card, because it exiles it so it never comes back from grave. So I think we're definitely putting Guardian Nog in over this Etter cap, because we didn't see any more flyers that game. That is the first definite adjustments, and then maybe Dawnbringer Cleric, but I think that is significantly worse against it, because it does still just keep coming back. And the 1/3 is not going to block particularly well against their Goblin Party type nonsense. I think it's definitely Guardian Nugget. That might be the only major adjustment we want to make this time. It might just be it. I could see lowering our curve a tiny bit, so we're less likely to get absolutely blown out by that kind of thing again. Like, get rid of one of these 6-drops like a Ranger Squadron. Sure, and then, yeah, putting in 1 Cleric here. I think that's what I'm going to do. Definitely playing first, so it'll be harder from the get-go for them to get us bad. We hit one land, we follow the tracks, and we're set for life. Yeah, we're trying to hit a land in the next 3 draw steps. I guess the next 2 draw steps, ideally. Do not draw on the first turn. Alright, fingers crossed. 1 land in the top 2. There we go, there's 1. More lands would be good with Dreadland Orm in hand. But 1 land is all we need for now. We imprisonment by getting a white source off follow tracks. So we can cast everything except the Linnorm. Opponent keep a 1-lander? Oh my god, opponent kept a 1-lander. They kept a very aggressive hand. That is scary. I definitely need to make sure I have the mana for my removal. It also is kind of nice here because they kept the 1-lander and then did not draw the 2nd land. But what that means is their hand is probably a bunch of 2-3 mana creatures that they really want to aggro out incredibly quickly. So as soon as they hit that 2nd land, we are in survival mode. I would assume, yeah. We are in fear here. Unless they kept a really greedy 1-lander that has a bunch of expensive cards. Okay, this is an easy imprisonment here. Because I am just, well, I could actually just attack with a unicorn and not spend removal if they block. Okay, they don't block. They are too smart. So we imprison that so they don't get any of that double teamed into their hand. And we get our own double teamer to start working with. I actually really don't like Minimus Containment in this game because they're stuck on mana, they missed a land drop, so giving them a treasure token is actually not a great deal. Vladimir and Godfrey, they have nothing to be able to bring Vladimir and Godfrey back. Now we have Sune's Intervention coming up. Is it easy just slam everybody in? Then I don't even need to spend Linnorm's effect here. I can just Unicorn. But then Unicorn is dead. Probably better to keep Unicorn on board, yeah. Then we drop Soldiers. Opponent has hit a land every single turn after they missed the first land drop. So this is far from the worst I've seen a 1-land hand keep go. But we are drawing pretty well. Getting some big stuff. Attack all here, get some trades off into these cards. Get this stuff off the board. Very okay with that. We don't need to spend any mana buffing because they'll still just trade. Then we drop a Linnorm, and if they don't have removal for that, they shouldn't have anything in their deck that can block that. At least we haven't seen anything in their deck that can block that. Scouting Hawk gets them another land. It's the 5th mana now. Okay, that still can't block Linnorm. We have enough to double pump here. 7, 8, 9, 10. We're not going to get lethal even if I containment the Hawk and then do something, so I think I just hold for my instant speed stuff. I just attack both and get ready to cast an intervention if we need it, or use Gate into the Citadel to seek a non-land card. Okay, there's the Hippogriff. Just give them another chump block. Six mana up from our opponents. There's a red dragon that can block Linnorm, but we have the Minimus Containment. We still play everything we can here, just in case something really weird happens that I'm not thinking of. They're just going to scoop them up. I guess now we wouldn't even have to use removal. We just double pump with Unicorn and attack all. Yeah, so that is, yeah, that's lethal on board. Because we use Unicorn's effect twice. They block Linnorm with Red Dragon now, block Unicorn with Scouting Hawk, but they take 8 from 2/4/4 Knights because of double pump on Unicorn. Opponent just saw that. A lot quicker than I did. That is going to be 3 match wins now, which means we're getting 6,000 gems back out of this event, and we're only 1 round away from potentially qualifying for the Qualifier Weekend event, which is insane. I am definitely not going to do another qualifier play-in after this. So if we 3-1 here, that would be a really sad way to go. So hopefully this green-white deck that's played a lot better than it looked to me can take the victory in the final boss as we head into round 4. Here we are in the final round, final boss of the qualifier play-in event. We will be playing first game 1 with a turn 2 Soldiers of the Watch, Owlbear, and Soon's Intervention to try to take over the game later on. Opponent plays a Plains turn 1. Hopefully no great 2-mana creature to block our Soldiers of the Watch. Hopefully something that'll just trade. They're white-green as well. The white-green mirror match, and Borsky or Tollkeeper it is. They see our lands and our creatures, but they don't see our intervention. Okay. So they chose to make Owlbear Shepherd come into play tapped. That's fine. Attack with soldiers, get our double team. Okay, they'll take it. I think I just want to drop the next soldiers here, so I'm pretty fine with that, trading into their Tollkeeper. But I could also keep it on board to try to get up to 8 power and start drawing cards off of Owlbear Shepherd. Play a Sylvan Shepherd, and now we can't attack in really here. An Icewind Stalwart coming up. Nothing really to flicker with it. A nice card nonetheless. Did we play that here just to have a 3/3 to block the Shepherd? Stop their attacks? Perhaps? That seems fine to me. We don't know enough about their deck to know if they're running Minimus Containment or Sea Tower Imprisonment. They could just have you hear something on watch. So this could be the +3/+3 trample trick. I don't think they make this attack if they don't have some kind of trick, but if it's just like Tyr's Blessing, then that makes them kind of skip playing the Hippogriff this turn. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't think we block here, because if all these creatures stick on board, we're definitely drawing a card next turn off of Owlbear Shepherd, even if it's going to be tapped. I wish I had another green source so we could play that and Null Hunter, but I think it is Owlbear Shepherd here, so we just get drawing cards. They have some kind of instant here. Could be you hear something on watch. Could be Patriarch's Humiliation. Probably not Humiliation, because they could have done it before we drew a card. Make sure we didn't have the power to draw cards in the future. Let's count up how we hit 6 power next turn. We could just do main phase intervention next turn, I guess. That's 4 more power on the board, so 1, that's 5 power. We just need to stick 3 power still. So we can go for the block on Tollkeeper and see what happens. See if we get them to use their Arcane Archery. No trick. And they passed her, and maybe it's some kind of Wrath going on over there? Tempted to just not even play Intervention yet, so I could recover from a Wrath if that's the plan. Yeah, I could play like Muralists and Null Hunter post-combat if they kill Stalwart somehow. They don't kill Stalwart, I guess I only need to play one of those. They do have you hear something on watch to kill that. And keep that in mind. My list of instants to play around, because now this round really matters. I could get into the Qualifier Weekend. Okay, here's something on watch. Remember to play around that. And we have now post-combat Muralists. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and Null Hunter, so we're back up to 8 power, and we draw a card off Shepherd. And we draw Sea Tower Imprisonment. Good one. Good one for sure. Opponent has 6 mana now. They could have Sune's Intervention. Intervention v Intervention. If they use a combat trick to kill Muralists, that is A-okay, because we're going to draw an extra big dragon. Yep. That is fine by me. We can now imprison that and have a big old dragon in our hand for when we hit 7 mana. Got Minimus Containment as well, which is better here. 2, 3, 4, 5 power on board. 6 power. If I play Pilgrim's Eye, pick up a land, use the land for Sea Tower Imprisonment, I will have 8 power on board for Owlbear Shepherd, so that is the better play. So we can get our card draw again. And unless they have a second, you hear something on watch, we're definitely drawing a card in the end step. Perfect. Yeah, we are just riding this Owlbear Shepherd to victory here. There's a Dread Linorm now, they got, and now we can Minimus Containment that. Or play our own. I would rather just Minimus Containment that and attack with everything we already have on board, and draw a card in the end step. And they're going to scoop them up. This is why I don't play with emotes. If you try to think and take a little time to do it, you're gonna hear your go all of the time. I think I was playing against a friend, that's why I have emotes on right now. I need to make sure to disable that before next round. You hear something on watch, Borskeer, Tollkeeper. Sylvan Shepherd, Dread Linorm. So Scale Deflection is something to remember as well if they're holding up a lot of mana. So it should be a little bit obvious when they're holding up Scale Deflection. Or they just have nothing in hand. So Scale Deflection, and that is Dread Linorm. I like the matchup, I think, here. They seemed like pretty much the same deck, just with less card draw. I like the matchup. Don't think I saw anything I want specific cards against. They didn't play very many cards that game. Probably a little flooded. And no artifacts or enchantments. Nothing that we need to flick our own cards against. Little combat trick's not going to matter much. If we had any kind of instant speed removal to really ruin them for playing a Scale Deflection, that'd be beautiful, but we really don't, because Spiked Pit Trap, sure, it's instant speed removal, but unless you have 6 mana up, this is going to be on the board, and they'll know not to not to Scale Deflection when you have that on board. So yeah, we don't really have a sideboard against like Adventure tricks, so let's just head into game 2 of the final match. Oh, here we go. The wheel is back. Turn the emotes off. Opponent's on the play, so we're on the draw here. We have a guaranteed Basilisk turn 2 with Rescuer Twinga lying in wait. A solid start. Ooh, Steadfast Unicorn turn 1 is also a solid start. Hit us for 1, pass the turn. Play our Basilisk here and pass. They have some kind of instant here. Could be you hear something on watch, costs 2 mana. Poison the Blade is the draw. Could do that just to draw a card and try and hit a land. Honestly, don't think this is that good in that matchup, so I'm just going to do that. Using it on their card, so if they have instant speed removal to shoot Basilisk, they can't just shoot it in response. Unfortunately, did not hit the land. There's the 4th mana from our opponent. And Sea Tower Imprisonment on Underdark Basilisk. That's rough. Because even though we can pick it up with a Rescuer Twinga, they still got a Soldiers of the Watch out of it. I think we're on the Rescuer Twinga plan. Pick up our Basilisk and then trade into Soldiers of the Watch. I was hoping they would cast something pre-combat so they wouldn't have the mana to use Unicorn's ability so I could be able to kill Unicorn off this block, but we cannot kill Unicorn on this block. have to just kill his soldiers. Because if we try to block Unicorn, they can spend 4 and beat our Chwinga. And we're on a slow enough start, and they know it because we missed a land drop. That's they know they can afford to just spend the turn playing Unicorn. They're going to spend the turn playing Dreadlorm's ability instead. Now we drop an Inspiring Bard. Actually, play Muralist probably. Yeah, it draws us a card when it dies. And that can trade into the 4/3 on their board. There's the Soldiers of the Watch duplicate. There's a Humiliation. Seems good. No, I think we're losing this. Their hand was just too aggressive for missing a land drop. Best line is just Basilisk Soldiers. Go a little wide here. The Unicorn out, that's not even great, but it's fine. Trade soldiers into their small soldiers and Basilisk into their big soldiers. And together as well. Wow, we are seeing all the instant speed removal now. This is going to be a hard matchup. I must have just drawn really poorly game 1. This is just some really good stuff. Gain some life here, have a blocker big enough for their soldiers. They have Band Together, Patriarch's Humiliation, Sea Tower, Imprisonment, and You Hear Something on Watch. Again, as I said when we built this deck, biggest flaw in our sealed pool is just like no removal in any colors. We have to play the sorcery speed cards like Minimus Containment that are also enchantment removal that can get blown up by a lot of stuff. Or flickered by a lot of stuff. I'm definitely feeling the distinct disparity in quality of removal in this matchup between our deck and theirs. So basically chump with Bard to force them to spend all their mana into just buffing soldiers so they're not putting any more cards on board, so it gives us a little more time, a little more breathing room to maybe be able to establish a big enough board state here to stabilize. Yeah, you can make chump attacks like that into Unicorn, or chump blocks like that into Unicorn. Alright, I mean they're down to just 3 things now. They're all pretty small. But they do get Unicorn buffs, which is bad. Eight mana now, they can definitely play a Linnorm, but we've got a containment for it. Alright, there's the Linnorm. They have 1 green mana up. Probably not any tricks or anything. Got 2 containments now. 3, 4, 5, 6 power out if I play Owlbear Shepherd. Not enough to trigger its ability. We have 7 mana here, so I could play containment and hold up Linnorm's effect. I think I would rather play more blockers. We definitely containment their Linnorm. Oh no, I have 6 mana, not 7, so I can't hold up Linnorm's effect anyway. I think I actually play Null Hunter here. It's more mana efficient to play Owlbear Shepherd, but if they have removal... I guess if they had removal, they'd probably kill Squadron. They can double pump their board. Wow, yeah, we need to... double pump is really rough here. I don't think we can attack with Squadron because of double pump shenanigans. Just have to hope they don't have more removal in hand. They have played a lot already. Humiliation, Imprisonment, and Band Together. Guardian Naga, god dang it. The massive, glaring flaws of enchantment-based removal in this format. Opponent just gets to side that in and destroy you. Holy crap. Yeah, it was looking like we had a chance to stabilize, but there's no way now. Oh, that sucks. There's no build in this entire sealed pool that doesn't use enchantment removal. Because no matter what my secondary color is, my secondary color just doesn't have removal. Right, like we're definitely a white deck. We could cut like containments and imprisonment. We could definitely cut containments, but not imprisonment, actually. But then it's like, we have 0 removal in green. Even if we move to the Boros aggro build, we have 1 copy of Fireball to make up for the loss of double containment. I guess I could just not play the containment, but then I just die to the Lenorm when they play them. I honestly feel like I have the best build, even against this deck, that I could have. I could play the Pit Traps, but they can exile those too with their removal, because it's artifact or enchantment removal that they had there. So even Pit Trap just gets got. Yeah, the only thing I'm possibly thinking about is swapping the green out for the red and just getting really aggro and trying to outrace their big Linorms and stuff. I just think our green is just better, though. Definitely don't put Cravings when they already have enchantment removal in now. Do something like that. 17 creatures, 6 non-creatures. Is this better than... the green-white? I don't think it is. I'm just going to let it time out so that we're still on the green-white build, rather than accepting the deck swap. It's going to be a hard match. This really ain't it. Owlbear Shepherd isn't going to get anything, but we have Follow the Tracks. If we draw any big spells, this really gets there, but we really have to draw specifically big spells. God dang it. We got. Just kept the first hand. This might be better than the first hand, actually, now that I think of it. But that first mulligan was awful. But yeah, I mean, Basilisk, 2 lands, Shepherd, Pilgrim's Eye might be better than that 7-card hand we had. So it actually might have ended up being worth it. Not if we don't draw land, though. Alright, 3rd land gets us the 4th land thanks to Pilgrim's Eye. Trying to do things here, but we're down 2 cards on the play. Against a deck that's basically our deck, but minus the bombs plus incredibly consistent removal. If I had to choose, I would probably choose our opponent's deck. Don't think we're imprisoning anything. I would just play a Bard. I don't think we're gaining life. We're just sending the Pilgrim's Eye in. I guess they can hear it. It's just a 1/1 flyer they're killing. Alright. They have killed our 1/1 flyer. That is A-okay. Oh, cool. They have another trick we haven't seen yet that gives indestructible to their whole board. Well, the board stays small. If we deal with the unicorn, just block everything else. Guess I just deal with the unicorn. Just can't use its effects now, so they have to draw into another threat. They seek from Gate to the Manaborn looking for threats. Got a Minimus Containment for that next threat now. That's good. Send in the soldiers. We also have Poison the Blade to kill a big card. That won't work against Linorm because we won't be able to block it, but other threats could be spicy. We're in this game. Didn't feel like it at first, but I think we're in this game. That is the best, not the best rare. That's one of the best rares in the whole set. So never mind, our opponent's deck is definitely better than our deck in every single way, because they have bombs too. So the first time this becomes the target of a spell or ability, they may exile it and bring it back under their control. They don't even have to. Also, when it specializes, they buff their whole board, +1/+1, and their whole hand, +1/+1. So we have to spend 2 removal spells on a 3/6 double striker. I can't even like try to Poison the Blade it to get its thing to flicker, because it only flickers when they choose to flicker it. So we are literally just, there's no way. We're just, Lysel just wins. On the spot. I'm still going to try my best, but that's pretty much unbeatable. Unless we draw our own bombs, I guess. We've got the mildest chance if we draw our own bombs. But yeah, like if I target Lysel with Minimus Containment, she just flickers. And Minimus Containment does not resolve. And then I have to draw another removal spell to kill her. And I can't do a Death Touch block. She has 3 double striking power, so she's 3 first strike damage before I get any damage in on her. Which is why I just popped the Death Touch to trade with something else. If I just grab mana here, I'm just chump blocking. Alright. Alright. I guess we're chump blocking. Hit me for 6, actually. We're still at 17. Go for it. Is Scale Deflection your Lysel? If they have Scale Deflection in hand, they have 3 ways to stop removal. Lysel automatically stops the first one, they Scale Deflection the second one, and then the third removal spell will finally get rid of her. Nope, they're going to exile our removal spell, because the only removal spells in our sealed pool are enchantments, and then they're going to buff the whole board with Unicorn. Well, we had a really nice start to this event, but our deck's flaws really caught up to us in this last round. This is an incredible deck from our opponent. Okay, I'm over it. 3-1 it is. That always feels super bad to be 1 match away from winning the event. But fair enough. Was really nice for this deck to take it that far. Again, I thought the deck had some pretty big flaws. The sealed pool definitely had some massive flaws. So making it one win away, still a pretty good record, and we are up in gems in the event, getting 6,000 back out of it. Not bad at all, but that is going to do it for me for the qualifier playing event. I will not be playing the qualifier weekend as I failed in this event, and I am not going to be doing more. I just got the time for the one event. So we will be playing Innistrad Midnight Hunt Premier Drafts tomorrow. Those are back on Arena today. So if you are interested in more paper Premier Draft formats, they're rotating back on Arena. So a bunch more draft formats to play in the near future. I'll be playing a lot of those. Probably not a ton more Baldur's Gate. There is the Arena Open at the end of the month that I will be playing in. I will do multiple attempts to get day 2 of the Arena Open. Unlike the qualifier playing events, I just do them the one and done. So hopefully we'll have the Arena Open day 1 and day 2 for Alchemy Horizons Baldur's Gate Competitive Limited if you're interested in more of that. But again, other than that, we've got Innistrad Midnight Hunt drafts, then Crimson Vow drafts 5 days after that, and then Kamigawa, then Streets of New Capenna. Do a bunch of drafts of those, a little bit of midweek Magic type stuff. Lots of solid content. I'm going to be doing my best to keep up with the daily videos for you all. Yeah, that is the whole massively long outro out of the way. So once again, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.